Great. So welcome everyone. We're so happy to have you here. I am obviously Marcy with Professional Notary Services and the New York Notary Alliance. Vanessa is here as well. We have secured signing. We have Bill Gimbel and Roger Castile. Did I say your last name correctly? I hope so. Here with us to do this demonstration. Of course, as we said previously, go ahead and put any Q&A in the Q&A spot, and feel free to chat amongst yourselves. We'll do our best to answer any questions as we go along. But I'm going to turn it right over to Bill because I know we have a lot going on. So, Bill, all yours.
Right. Thank you, Marcy, for the introduction and for the opportunity to help us share our knowledge as well as our product to the notary community. Just a short introduction about myself. I've been involved as in the notary space since 1997, owned one of the largest signing services in the US. I've been responsible for managing over 5 million transactions and have completed 2,300 of those myself. I'm on the United States Common Law Committee, where we promulgate regulations for each state's insertion into their Secretary of State's rules for remote online notarization. I'm also the architect on 2 other platforms and did my first RON transaction in July of 2013, my first e-signature IPEN in 2005. So we have a fair amount of experience, and Roger has an equal, if not greater, amount of experience in the mortgage space. So Roger, if you just chime in, and then we'll begin our presentation.
Sure, thanks, Bill. So yes, I have been a notary since 2004. And I became a notary because I was managing Freedom Mortgage's refi closings. They were mostly a refi shop back in the day. And so I became a notary so I could actually assist with those closings because there were so many happening, not only in New Jersey where I lived at the time, but in every state there in all 50 states. So I had notaries working for me all over the United States, probably closing up to 2,000 signings a month. So it was a good time. Very busy, and since then I've always been a notary. When I moved to Florida, I became a notary down here. I'm also a signing agent here, and joined Secured Signing almost 2 years ago to promote remote online notarization, which we know is where the industry is going or heading. So thank you for your time.
Okay, and I think a differentiator here, as you've just heard, is we are a notary management group, consultants that got into the technology business. We're not a technology company that got into the notary business. So I think that's a unique distinguisher there. But a little history about our company is Secured Signing. We are a global company, been in business 14 years. We have been rated in the top 3 as the best e-signature platform globally every year since 2017. We are an ISO 27001 rated company. And what that means is that the International Standards Organization has reviewed our platform, our software, and labeled it as secure, safe, and in compliance with international standards. We are also HIPAA approved. And what that means is that you could conduct medical transactions online. And to do that, you must be HIPAA approved. So unless you're working with a platform that's HIPAA approved, you really can't approach the medical marketplace. The other certification is, of course, MISMO. As you may be aware, MISMO is the technology firm that certifies platform providers for the Mortgage Industry Standards Maintenance Organization, which is who they are, for the Mortgage Bankers Association of America, that promulgates best practices and issues certification to those platforms that allow, through that certification, to now conduct home loan signings online using their platform. So that's a very important consideration. So ISO, HIPAA, and MISMO certified, very important distinguishing characteristics. Again, we're a global company. We have offices in Auckland, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, the US, and California, where I am, in Florida, where Roger is. And our customer base is spread across over 45 different countries around the world. We have data centers on 4 continents. So I guess the takeaway here is we are a vested, large, secure company in which to do business with. And I'm going to try to, because of my experience in the RON space, in the RON platform design space, try to keep our comments to how we are different. I'm not going to promote everything that is RON, but how we maybe distinguish ourselves and how that really would make a difference to you. probably the first and one of the most important features is we are a wholesale or white label branded platform. Meaning if you as a notary enterprise used our platform, your logo appears, not ours. The invitations, if you have your own domain, like at ABC Notary as opposed to at Gmail, all the email invites to your clients will come out under your email domain. The script that you put in your emails is all your creation. It shows your header, your name, your URL, your brand, your look, your feel. So we're really a tool that allows you to build and grow and protect your business. We do not have a signing service, so we're not your competition. And that's an important consideration. Now, those elements, because of Roger and my experience signing loans in front of borrowers or documents in front of signers, we know what goes on in the field, what changes, what dynamic necessary changes on the fly must be made. And we've incorporated that into the UI and the website. So the ability in a session while you're there online with the signer to add documents, to add signatures, dates, text box live during the middle of a session, or reschedule that session for a second signer who didn't show up. All those sort of things that you experience in a wet environment, we've transferred over into the raw and electronic environment. So as Helen Reddy put it in her song, the wisdom born of pain. So we feel that, and we've tried to make those accommodations technologically. Another feature that is growing in importance is we have the ability to include our signer side instructions in Spanish. Plus, the email invitations that you send out to your clients, you create. So those can be drafted in any type of language that you find necessary to fulfill your market demand. And again, you can have an unlimited number of email type drafts. So you could have the very same email, one for Spanish, one for Farsi, one for Italian, etc. So you have that ability to brand and craft your website as it best suits your market. Now, financially, there's no upfront fees to subscribe to our platform. We're on a month-to-month subscription basis. As an enterprise or a notary, your fees start at $9.95 a month to subscribe to the platform. The only upgrade there is to $14.95, and the difference is at $14.95, we will store your recording and your journal for 10 years. And that's regardless of subscription status. So if you stop being a notary in 2 years and stop your monthly subscription, you still have access to your journal. And the transactional cost for a typical one-person POA signed document where they have to have their ID validated is at $10. We do cap our fees. So if you had 40 documents, 8 signers, all have to go through ID verification, we cap our sessions at $50, regardless of the aggregate cost that it might have been. So there's a safety net there. And you, of course, can bill whatever you like or what the market will bear. On the signer side, the signers can use a PC, a tablet, an iPad, cell phones, and they can switch between those devices in the middle of a session. Or signer 1 can be on their computer, signer 2 can be on their iPad, signer 3 can be on their cell phone. So that dynamic ability to both conduct and switch between platforms is critical. Let me give you a quick example. I had a signing the other day. Mr. and Mrs. were to sign at 8 in the morning. Mr. had to go into work early. Mrs. said, well, notary, call my husband at 12 and you can sign in and complete the signing. The problem is 12 o'clock, 12:05 comes, no Mr. The notary calls Mr. and he says, well, I've been trying to sign in, but I'm here at the university and I can't get to your website. Well, of course not. They're behind a firewall that prevents them from doing that. So the notary said, well, just switch to your cell phone. Your wife's already signed, so we'll finish it up with you on your cell phone. So that sort of dynamic switching, the ability to be flexible and move from issue to issue and resolve that is critical in a platform. The other, which I find amazing that it's fairly unique, is identity verification of non-US citizens. If you're in a jurisdiction of which that as I recall, there are 8 that allow for biometric examination of a signer to their vetted ID as the standalone and only method in which you identify them, then you can use our platform to identify foreign nationals, to identify signers that are buying property in the US that have never been to the US. Additionally, we also, and have for quite a while actually, identify the geolocation of both the notary and the signer. And I know those people, those notaries in New York, that's a big issue now. We have you covered in that regard. So let's now get on to the demonstration. Marcy, do we have any questions that we might address prior to moving forward?
We don't have any questions, but I do want to just share quickly, when you discuss the biometrics, and I'm not sure, maybe you have a better answer than I do, we're still waiting on verification that you can use biometrics in New York. Do you have information to the otherwise?
No, I don't. I know they're promulgating that. We had a meeting with them, I think it was last Tuesday, with regards to clarification on the EIP requirement for a VPN. But no, they're still considering that. So the short answer is no, not yet.
Okay, great.
But I'm
So
pressing hard for that.
I appreciate that. So I just want to put that out there that, you would only be able to use biometrics if it was viable and legal in your state, just to put that out there. But I think we don't have any questions, and you're doing a great job so far. So we'll continue on.
Okay, let's go to the platform. Okay, the assumption here is that I'm a notary and I've received a document from our client that he has uploaded. But before I do that, I want to show you two quick features that are important. And these things you can, yes.
Might want to switch it over. We can see the demonstrations and questions.
But not the, oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm not used to using this platform.
Yeah.
So I've got to switch. Thanks for that, Roger. So I've got to switch screens. First, let me pull up the screen that I want to show. Okay, you are new share.
While you're doing that, Bill, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So as we talk with notaries, and we've been asking them to make sure that they receive in writing from each platform that they're compliant in whatever state that they're in. Is there a spot on your site which shows which states you're currently compliant and viable in, or is it okay if they emailed you? Would you ask them?
Sure. Yeah, they can email. There's 42 states that allow their notaries to conduct RON transactions. We're currently, quite candidly, registered and compliant, I think, in 35 or 36. And the remaining ones are those states that want us to write them a $5,000 check. So as soon as we get a customer in that state, we'll be compliant. We're compliant with the regulations. We're just not registered. But certainly send us an email and we'll let you know if we're compliant with that states. Again, of the 42, we're compliant in 36.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
I can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So again, we're at www.securedsigning.com. And I want to go to pricing. I want to go to notary plans. But what I wanted to show you, and this is part of your monthly subscription, is you can be part of our notary community, which we market through social media. So let's say there was a user that lived in Florida, and he wanted to have a notary either do a wet signing or a RON signing, and he happens to be in Palm Beach, Florida. So let's see who's there. Okay, these are our culprits there in Palm Beach, Florida. And here's a guy. It's amazing how his picture matches that of the one I saw in the post office. Good shot, Roger. But this is part of your monthly subscription. We provide this to you. It's actually a web landing page. So if you have a website, you can link this to it, or you can send the URL in the upper of the address bar in an email, and your client will arrive at this site. At this site, you can put your resume, you can put blurbs about your business, you can solicit reviews, you can post your availability, your experience, and you can also, and this is very important, you can also have your clients send you documents through a secure link. We encrypt the documents in transit and, of course, at rest. So there's no need to buy a separate Dropbox or type of account that encrypts documents. Because if you're going to do any business in most of the legal environments and certainly in all medical environments, your documents must be encrypted in transit. And we provide this for you as a service as part of your monthly subscription. So I wanted to show everybody that. Okay. So now let's go to how this works. Okay, I'm a notary that has gotten an assignment. I'm going to log into my platform. Now, typically we use what's called MFA multi-factor authentication, where a text is sent to my cell phone. I enter that code and it gets me or grants me access to the platform. As you can see, it's asking me to do that, but for demonstration purposes, I've disabled that. Now, remember, we are principally started out as an e-sign platform rated in the top 3 globally. And we have the ability for you to send out documents just to be signed. Years ago, we used to dispatch notaries to borrowers' residents to sign applications, and we charge the entity enterprise $150. We'd have to present a whole set of docs, but it's amazing now that we can send that same 120-page set of applications over the email for 4 signers to complete, and your wholesale cost on that is $1.50. So that's an attribute and an advantage that we have that I would not have you overlook, because when you're going to prospect into your markets, you want to offer more than one trick. You want to offer RON, you want to offer in-person electronic signing, you want to offer your clients the ability to sign electronically, and another no additional cost option, which has really become very popular, is we can, when the signer gets an email to just sign a document, we can do what's called a video confirmation, meaning they click on sign here, a video pops up, a liveness test administered, and a 10-second loop is created and archived to see who was behind the mouse. So they know who signed that document. So if you have clients that, well, I don't really need it notarized, but this is a high value document. Sometime I wonder, is it Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith or Bobby Smith that signed it? You know, they say they're them, but you can provide that level of security to your clients at no additional cost. And iSign is where people send you documents to have signed. And remember, all our documents, whether it's the signer or the notary, are signed using an X509 digital signature certificate, meaning they're tamper sealed. So any changes made to the document after they're notarized or finally signed would be made evident through the use of the tamper seal. So now let's say we have this set of documents and these need to be notarized. So I've called my signer and I've actually confirmed that he has the technical capability of conducting the signing, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But he's uploaded the doc via the secure link we provided you, and you can then go to your inbox where those documents will live if they used your link. If you have created a template, now a template is a document that your client or clients use over and over and over and over again. The layout, the format is identical. The only thing that changes is the data. So you can pre-prep that document for all dates, signatures, notes, all elements necessary to complete that document in a generic fashion. So that once you plated or created that template, all you need to do is enter the signer's name and everything is auto-populated. So if you have a large document you're templating, that you're creating, say 150-page set of documents, I would create it as a template and save it. That way, if it gets corrupt, you can immediately go to a backup copy, and that's a very, very important issue. But for today's demonstration, I've got this little 8-page loan modification agreement sitting here on my computer under. Scroll down to where I've saved that. Okay, bear with me. We can also upload, of course, documents from your Dropbox account or from a Google Drive or from your corporate account OneDrive. Again, I'm going to select that document. Now, if your client requires that you follow the MISMO compliant guidelines, you would check yes. If it's not a mortgage type environment or they do not require MISMO, you just leave it at no. And I'm going to select next. Okay, now here's
so can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
The format of the document, must it be in a PDF format? Could they
No,
send you?
no, it can be a Word, it can be a .docx, a docx, it can be an Excel, of course, a PDF. If you attempt to, and thank you for that, it's a good question. If you attempt to upload a document in a format that we do not accept, you'll get a pop-up indicating that.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, so now we've uploaded the document and we have a feature here. It's called the notary and the notary queue. If you are the only notary in your network, obviously you're going to leave it at that. If you have multiple notaries in your network, you can leave it at that. And I'll show you how you can select one of your notaries to do this. But let's say you're not sure who's going to do this signing. You can create a queue of notaries. Let's say you have a queue for Spanish-speaking notaries, notaries in your network that can electronically sign wills, notaries in your network that can do biometric valuations. So if you're a notary in New York who does not yet have that capability, you could join with a notary in Florida who does. That way you don't have to turn down assignments given to you from New York that you couldn't do. You assign it to associate in your queue or in your network that can do that for you, and then you create a rev share. So you're not turning down business. You're the go-to person that can get it all done. So again, those queues can vary. They can begin to be all types of different designations. So that's a great handy tool for utilization. And now we're going to schedule that RON meeting. So we're going to say it's going to take place tomorrow, and it's going to take tomorrow at 3:05. Okay. And understand this is not a lockout, meaning this is a placeholder. There's nothing that would prevent the signer from calling you and say, hey, I've got an extra hour right now. Can we do it right away? They can literally sign in as soon as they get their email invite. So you could do it either in advance if the documents allow you to do that, or up to 7 days after the scheduled event, it will still sit in the queue. So this is a placeholder that you can manage. Now, by default, I've said, well, I want my signers to go through a knowledge-based authentication, which is that series of 5 questions with 6 possible answers. It's governed by the Federal Bridge Act, and all platforms that produce KBA methods of identity proofing must use that methodology. ID verification is where they take a picture of the front and back of their ID and then process that for verification. But for today's demonstration, I'm going to say I personally know this signer. Okay, now I've got the document uploaded. I've got a date and a time. I know who the notary is going to be. And again, if I had multiple notaries, I just click on the drop down and select the notary I want to have conduct this session. But my signer's email, because I've done this signer before, is Joe Signer. And I know Joe Signer. So I'm just going to leave it the authentication at personal knowledge. Okay, let's put another signer in. Okay, this is Jane Signer, and I don't know Jane. So Jane's going to have to go through a KBA and IDV. Let's add another signer, BG3. Whoop. Okay, I don't know John, and John's not so sure about who he is because he's got no idea whatsoever. So he's going to need to be a credible witness. Add a credible witness to his profile. So I'm going to add a credible witness, and I'm going to assign that credible witness to John. So the point I'm making here, all the variables with regards to ID validation, we can accommodate on the platform. And that's going to be very important for you. So again, because of Roger and my experience in the wet world, we know what happens out there. So let's accommodate this for what occurs on the electronic platform. And additionally, we say, okay, we've got an escrow officer, or an attorney, or a father, or a priest, or a translator that's going to be necessary to be in the account. Okay, they will ride along. They don't have to sign anything, but they're just there to join in the group, oversee what's going on, and or provide advice or direction to the signers. So again, if it happens in the wet world, we're going to make it happen here. But for today's demonstration, we're going to say there's one signer and one notary and go to next. Okay, this is our notary journal. You must, as you well know, describe the type of act that's required. If there's multiple acts, you can check multiple. If there's other acts that's not described, such as, let's say, a Utah proof of life, you could click other and put that and fill that in here. Also, the notary fee. Now, it's important to understand this fee isn't what you actually end up charging the enterprise or the client for doing the remote online notarization. This is a fee that's associated with the notarial act itself. Most our notaries deal directly with the enterprise, meaning they work for a hospital, a construction firm, a mortgage company, an escrow company, an attorney firm, and they bill the firm. They don't bill the signer. Okay, and because I know Joe, I'm going to need to put in his address for my journal. Now, had I not known Joe, he would have completed that himself when he goes to sign in. And of course, there's a notes field. And I'm going to start tagging this document. And tagging is applying all the fields, the dates, the text boxes that are required to appear or to be executed upon the document. But let's make this document a little bit bigger, make it easier to tag. So because I know this document, I know that in the bottom right-hand corner of each page, there are initials. So let me go pick Joe Signer, and no, it's not a signature. I'm going to change it to an initial. I'm going to size it, and I'm going to drag it down here to this same XY coordinate that appears on all pages. So again, now that I know that signature or initials are in that same spot on all or on various pages, I can select which page I want to add that box to. So let's, for purposes of discussion, let's say it's on page 1, page 5, and page 6. So now those initials, as you'll see, will now appear on page 1, 5, and 6. Same thing with the signature. So it saves time in prepping. Okay, so now I'm going to add the borrower's signature. Joe Signer, size that, drag it down here. And I've decided in my defaults that beyond his signature, I also want the date and time they signed, and I want their name printed under their signature. And that's an option you can elect. Okay, let's go to page 6. This is the notarial act, and I'm going to show you some extended features here. For me on, so I need to drop a date field there. So let's drop a date field. I can leave that blank, and it will automatically date when the signer signs it. Or I can fill it in. Let's say it was a date field where an event was to commence. So you could put the date in, then click on read only, and that would then fix the date onto that document. I also need, as you can see, I'm sure, to add a text box with the Joe Signer's name. So I'm going to slide that down there and select read only. And what read only means is it just is data added to the document. There's nothing that needs to be done about it. But let's say there was a text box that needed to be filled in live during the signing, meaning you don't know the information that needs to go in there, but information indeed does. So you drop a text box and you can make it mandatory, and you can assign it to whoever it's mandatory to enter that information for. Now, in our example, there's one signer, but if there were two, you click the drop down and you could assign it to either Joe or Jane and select mandatory. That means that the signer cannot sign this page of the document till they complete that field. It's just like in the wet world. You don't sign it, then complete the elements. You complete the elements, and then you sign it. Okay, I'm going to show you another element that's commonly used. Let me get rid of that. And that is the multi-line, the checkbox rather. Now, let's say you have a document that there's 4 elections. Mr. Signer, please select one of the 4 options. So you would just drop a text box, leave it blank, and then Joe Signer or Jane Signer, depending upon who you assign it to, would select that option which reflects their choice. Okay, let me get that. Okay, now I am going to add my notary signature. And also, along with my notary signature, I want the date and my name printed. And I'm going to make a mistake now. I'm going to go to the next step. Wait a minute, I did not apply my seal. The system is smart enough to realize you've made a mistake and will not let you proceed. And this is wrought throughout the system. So it's a nice safety net. So I'm going to grab my stamp and I'm going to apply it. So now we are content that the document has been prepped. It's ready to go. But wait a minute. I got a call from the enterprise owner and said, Bill, I'm sorry. I know you went through all this work to prep the document, but we've got an update. Don't worry, you don't have to re-prep it. You just go right here and you replace the document. It's like replacing the document under the tags. All the tags will remain in their same XY grid coordinates. You may have to move them a little bit, but you don't have to start all over. Or the client says, wait a minute, there's one more addendum I want to add to the document. You can add that addendum. So again, because of what we see out in the field, we know this stuff happens. And because it happens there, it's going to happen to you and it's going to happen online. So you've got to be able to adjust it. And this is, of course, a save draft. What this means is the platform saves automatically every 5 minutes. But if I've done a lot of prepping on a document, I just, like you did with Word documents. I save it just to be safe. So now we're ready to go. So I'm going to send this out to my signer. And my last step here is the confirmation step. Says, okay, you're really going to send this out. And the appointment is here. I could change it if I wanted to. I can lastly check to make sure the name is right. The email address is right. I could change it if I had to. If the type of authentication is wrong, I can change that. Now down here, you'll see that I've assigned the notary to Bill. I could change that. And lastly, you see the host. Now the host is another word for scheduler, data entry person, paralegal. That's the person that prepared this session. And because it was me, you can see that it's one and the same. So now everything's good. I'm going to send this to the signer. And Marcy, would you like me to pause to see if there's any questions up to this point, and then we'll get into the execution?
Yes, I have a quick question, and then I'm going to go to the Q&A. Can you edit the document when you're in a live session?
Great question, and absolutely, and I'll show you that in a live session.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question we have is, can you tell us a little bit about your support services after, if you have after hours, what your business hours are for support?
We're open 18 hours a day. Let me be very candid about that. If you're in the middle of a signing and you go, oh my goodness, I've made a mistake, let me call Bill. Not going to happen. I don't know a platform out there that provides live on-site support. We have an award with regards to our help desk support team. But again, if you're in the middle of a signing, something going sideways, we may be able to help you, but probably not. I just wanted to be very straightforward on that. And I'm honestly don't know of a platform that does that. That's why viewing the video recordings, attending our webinars, training practice is so critical. And that's why we stress the fact that we're notaries. We know what happens out there. So we have the answers. You know, so that's a bit of a salve. Any more questions, Marcy, before we?
That's what I was next one I was going to ask is training. So you do provide training to the notaries, and
Yes.
there's resources for them to do on their own as well.
Right, exactly. And we try, actually, if they sign up after one of our webinars, we give them $25 credit to practice with, and we assign them to a coach for a free training session.
And then
this
someone,
coach,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
so, and this coach has a tremendous amount of experience. So she can help you not only in operation of the platform, but also in marketing your business.
Great. Someone asked if you can explain how this is used in a medical environment.
Okay, a medical environment requires compliance with the Health Information Portability and Affordability Act. And we have clients, hospitals. Let me give you a quick example. We have hospitals that do 40, 50,000 transactions a year. Request for medical records. If you are going out on disability, your lawyer, Social Security Administration wants a certified copy of medical records. So that medical records division of each hospital has notaries in them or contracts with notaries to have these medical record requests certified as being genuine copies of the original. And a number I'd like to throw out there, and it will amaze you, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but we've all heard that there's 1 billion notary transactions that occur every year in the market. What percentage of those do you think occur in the mortgage market? I don't know if you have the ability to take a poll, Marcy, or if somebody can just throw out some numbers.
Yeah, we can take a poll, or certainly you guys can throw out some numbers in the chat. What do you guys
just throw
think?
some numbers. I'm just, what percentage of the, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50?
No one wants to guess.
Okay, that's
30.
fine.
We've got a 30.
Okay, good. Okay, here's the number. ATTOM research, you can look it up, is that statistical body that monitors the mortgage environment for transactions, first, second, HELOCs, transactions, refis every year. And that number is 1.57%. So this begs the question, well, where in the heck are the other 98% of those 1 billion transactions? They're in legal, they're in medical, they're in institutional, they're in student loans. There's a whole host of markets out there beyond mortgage. And I heartily encourage everyone to investigate those, because Roger and I have lived through a number of down cycles in the mortgage market, and we're in one. There will be another boom, that's for sure, but then there will also be another bust. So to smooth out your income stream, I really suggest you pursue other markets. And we, again, have the ability to help you do that because we're a branded site. It's your product. and you can provide in-person electronic notarization in every state, RON in 42 states, signing documents electronically in all states as well as internationally. So make sure that this is in your toolbox, that you have all these other accessories to sell, not just one-trick pony RON transactions.
Great. So the next question is, can the stamp be configured for a square stamp instead of a rectangular stamp?
As long as it's compliant, yeah. As long as it's compliant with your Secretary of State's provisions, sure. Because essentially what you're going to do, and let me tell you real quick how to do it. It's quite simple. Stamp whatever stamp you have on a piece of paper, take a picture of it with your cell phone and email it to yourself. And then you upload that during the registration process. Same thing with your signature. Draw your signature on a piece of white paper, take a picture of it with your cell phone, email it to yourself, and you'll upload that signature during the registration process.
Perfect. And the last question I have is, someone from PA is asking if they need to use the IdenTrust certificate, if it's required by your platform, since
No.
it's not required in PA.
No, it's not. You can use our own server-side X509. And remember, we use an X509 for all signatures, be it notary or signer. And if your state does not require you, like Texas, Arizona, Kentucky, Florida, does not require you to purchase your own individually issued cert, then you can use ours at no charge.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any quick questions before we continue on here? Oh, is there a program where a notary can pretend to do a closing with a fake person and fake documents?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can practice, and we have a procedure to show you how to do that. And that's why we give you those $25 in credits in order so that you can practice. You know, I would suggest practicing with two computers. On one, you're the signer, on one, you're the notary. So you see the interaction between the two. You can practice with a friend, but practice is paramount to success.
Okay, wonderful. I think we've answered everything, so we can move on till the next batch comes through.
All right, so I'm the notary, and I know that I've got a signing coming up in a few minutes. So I'm going to go to my invitations, and this lists all the activity I have coming up this week. Here's the one that I have coming up today. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me into the signing room. Okay, now I have multiple cameras here, so I have to choose. Usually on the upper left, as you've all seen, you'll just see a drop down, allow use of camera and microphone. So I'm going to go into the meeting. Now, this is a very, very important pop-up right here. This tells me I'm in the boardroom. I'm ready there. I got my stamp. I'm here. I'm ready to roll. But Joe Signer's not there. So I don't want to start this meeting until Joe shows up. Now, you'll notice under KBA and IDV, there's just a check mark, a dash. That's because I personally know Joe. Now, if I did not know Joe, under KBA would be pending and pending, meaning they have not done this yet, or pass, fail, or fail, fail. So this lets you know if they had a problem with their KBA or IDV, you could then immediately call them and try to assist them in that effort. So I'm in the conference room and I'm waiting. So now let's go to my email and see what the signer sees. Okay, this is the email your signer gets. There's a confirmation strip here that would then send you back a notice that your signers confirmed the appointment. And as you can see, you can put your company name here, your logo, whatever elements you want here on this, and you can create your own script. Now, this is a three-step, what I refer to as a three-step invite. A lot of notaries, and I actually prefer a two-step. The first step is, does my signer have, or signers have, the capability of doing an AV transaction? Or are they behind a firewall like the gentleman at the university that's not going to let them go through? Many notaries will call their appointment, say, Mr. Smith, I've got an appointment tomorrow with you at 2. We're going to meet online. I want to send you a quick test just to make sure that the device that you'll be using tomorrow is capable of conducting this session. It takes 30 seconds. This is critical to this success. You don't want to find this out during the signing. Okay, Roger caught me again. Thank you, guys. I'm not showing the right email. Okay. Thank you, Roger. Okay, you should see this now. Okay, again, this is the email that can have your logo and name. I would call the signer, send them as a separate email, and then the email that you send them out as the official invite will include 2 videos, short videos, one on how do I go through a KBA and IDV, and the other, how do I sign in and share my screen? This is absolutely critical to success. You've got to prepare your signers for this event. You know, and it's a very simple process, but this really coaches them and helps them get into the session. But to get into the session, all they need to do is click on the click to join and enter this unique security code, 2426. Click continue. And now I'm waiting. I'm the signer and I'm waiting. Again, typically in the left would be a drop down that says allow. Then I would just be able to see my document, but I can't do anything with it. So now as a notary, you see, Joe's in the room. Let's start this meeting. So to start this, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to switch to the right screen. Thank you again, Roger.
I'm just here for support.
No, see, Roger's the expert. He's the one that catches me. Thank you. He's my safety net. Okay,
Bill,
so
can I
let's.
ask a quick question?
Yeah,
I'm so
of course.
sorry. So due to the tagging and all of that, it makes sense that the notary would have to be on, you know, a computer or a laptop, desktop. But as for the signer, what type of technology can they use? Cell phone, computer?
Yeah, cell phone,
tablet?
iPad, PC, Mac, iPad, tablet. The
Perfect,
signer
thank
can be on pretty much anything. That's me, the notary. Okay, now to switch back to the signer side, now you see the signer can join the session. They click join and they must share the screen. And this is why it's critical that you send them that video to instruct them on how to do that. Okay, so at this point, and then the camera you see there is actually on the side of my desk. That's where the signer would be. And it's at this point that the signer would determine willingness, capacity, intent, and lack of duress. It is also that point at which the notary could examine the ID that was validated as being genuine by clicking here. And I didn't upload an ID, but let me show you what you will see when you click on that. And Roger, let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen with the picture of Joseph and the?
Not yet. No.
It's odd because it's in the other platform we use. You don't need to switch back and forth. Okay, hang on. Let me. Okay. Now you should be able to see it.
Yes.
Okay. What you will see when you click on that is you will see a front and back of the ID that was determined to be genuine. You will see an enlarged picture of the front of the ID, which includes the signer's picture. You will see the selfie that was taken with after a liveness test determined it's genuine, or live rather. And then in this screen is the actual picture of the signer where you could ask them to hold up their ID. So we really have 4 levels of identification. We have a KBA if they go through that. We have the ability to determine if the ID is indeed genuine. We can do a biometric match, and the final traditional notarial stare and compare. So it's pretty, I mean, you know who you're talking to. And again, we accept IDs from over 200 countries and over 4,000 different government issued IDs. So let me go back to the signer side, the notary side. Okay, now I am going to allow the signer to sign. So I click on here and I would select the first signer. We only have one, so I'm going to select this signer. And I'm going to go to the signer side. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, now the signer, you can see in the branding, you've been asked by your company name would appear here to fill and sign this document. This is now ported into your audit log. And that's what's called a UWIDA opt-in. The signer must click on their screen and then click on the blue share button. Okay. Now at this point, the platform will take the signer to the location where they first must enter some data, and they're confirming, yep, this is the data I wanted to have entered. Click next, and it's going to take me to the first element that must be signed. I'm going to click initial, and the platform will take me to the next one. That's a signature. I'm going to click there. Now, I'm going to click here on the initial. And before it completes this, there's something I want to show you because I've got mine automatically defaulted. The first time any signer signs a document in the platform, they will be asked to create a signature, and they have a number of choices. They can either select a font to represent their signature and initial, as you saw I did here. They can draw their signature on their mouse or their screen. They can upload an image of their actual signature from their archives onto the document, or they can switch to their cell phone and draw their signature on the cell phone. As you can imagine, most people pick a font. And the reason we have these options, certain jurisdictions with certain documents require a hand-drawn signature. Certain documents and certain verticals require an actual representation of their real signature. So again, we know what goes on out in the field. We provide you the option to accommodate both your vertical and your state jurisdictions. Okay, I'm going to continue the signing here. And see in the upper right, the signing is completed. So this signer has done everything they were supposed to do. All the data fields, all the date fields, all the initials, all the signatures, you're done. So it's a safety feature. So now I'm going to switch over to the signer side. Or from the signer side to the notary side, I'm going to have to stop sharing. Okay, so now we're back on the notary side. And while I was signing, I noticed, goodness gracious, I forgot one of the signatures or a text box or a check box or an initial. What am I going to do? Very simple. You just go up to here and you can add your signature, your seal. You can add notary signature, or you can add any of these elements that you normally would have added during the prep process. So that goes to the question, can I edit this document during a transaction? And yes, you can, and this is how. So that's critical. That's critical. Now, another feature that we have is, let's say you had to pick up a stipulation or take a picture of a well clearance report. You go over here to the camera. You would have the signer hold up the document that you want to capture. Click on the camera icon. You can center that because you don't want a picture of the medicine chest in the background. So let's just capture that data that we just need. We don't need the finger. There we go. I'm going to label this. And I click OK. And save. Now your client, be it a title company or attorney office, may want you to capture something for return just to them. So this allows you to do that. You also, if you know you have to upload a stipulation during the event, you can drop a file upload button and distinguish that to who it's going to sign, who has to upload something. And in the title field, you can enter actually what needs to be uploaded as a reminder. So again, we know sometimes you go to appointments where stipulations are required to be picked up. Again, we can create this. So now the notary is ready to finish up. Yes, I really want to sign here. I've been asked by your company as the notary representing your company to sign the document. That goes into the audit trail. It takes me to the first spot that I have to sign. There's my signature, printed name, date, and time, and my stamp. And I am done. You notice the green pop-up, meaning everybody's completed everything that was supposed to have been executed. At this point, the session is over. You can click on here to end the video signing. And a couple other elements that I want to show on this Wheel of Fortune here is we have a leave meeting. We call it the bathroom break button. It pauses everything. And you can also pause the recording. Now, this is important. Some states require everything from hello to goodbye to be recorded, like Florida. Most only require the notarial act. So once you've completed the notarial act, which is, you've determined willingness, intent, capacity, lack of duress, and you've signed that one document to be notarized, you don't have to record the rest. Under the guise that less is more, that's probably the more prudent way to proceed. You can turn this pause recording on and off. If your client wants a sidebar with their attorney who's attending the meeting, you can pause the recording. So again, emulating what actually occurs in the field, we can duplicate this electronically. But let's end this signing. And now when we end, you have the option of automatically having that signer return to your website to leave a review or upsell them something. It's pretty cool. Again, we're here to promote your business. Okay, so now I want to show you what happens on the back side. Let me.
Bill, while you're working on that, I have just a quick question
Yeah.
here, and they want to know, do you have onboarding assistance? Is there someone there to
Yeah.
help the notaries get onboarded?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let me.
So while Bill's bringing that up, I'll also add to that, Marcy, is that we also have a lot of videos on our website, which also help the notaries with onboarding. So that way, if they don't want to call or they can't get through or whatever it might be, tons and tons of videos to help assist with all that entire process. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Great, thank you. And then in terms of recording this session, is there a time limit per session?
No, there's a $5 charge for invoking a recording, and that's the charge that we're charged by AWS to reserve a room on their server with a backup on the East Coast. If it runs over 30 minutes, it's an additional 5 cents per minute per person or per signer.
Great, thank you.
And this is all on our website. Let me see. Can you see my screen where you see the email yet?
Yes.
Okay. This is the email the notary gets, letting them know it's done. This is the document. This is the screenshot that I took in session. But what I wanted to show you here, also the notary or account administrator is immediately going to get a memo billing invoice because we only bill at the end of the month. But this lets you know that this transaction cost you or cost the administrator or the enterprise $6. Okay, the other thing that you get, and this is going to be important, particularly to notaries in New York, is this signing completion certificate. This is like a mini audit log. This lets me know that who created the document, who sent it out, who the signer was, where they were located, their IP address, their time zone, where the notary was located. Whoop, every time. Hang on. There we go again. Okay. Okay, again, this is a mini audit log. This shows that the document was what the document name was, the unique ID, when it was uploaded to the platform, its status, how many signers there were, who sent the document out to be executed, who the signer was, where they were located, their IP address, their time zone, where the notary was, their region, their time zone. And then it also further in the audit log identifies that this was a previously executed demonstration that Roger and I did, that Roger started signing from Florida. This is his IP address, and that the signer started in California. Now, for those New York notaries, we have a further insertion into the certification field that identifies whether or not a signer was operating behind a VPN. It also has a pop-up certification that the signer vows to their presence being in New York. That becomes part of the audit log. And if this notary is indeed behind a VPN, which is very common for security reasons, we can use the geolocation of their browser to then identify them as transacting out of New York, even though the VPN server is in Ohio. So the New York notaries will have you covered with regards to that latest IP requirement. Okay, questions?
So question is, in terms of billing, do you guys assist the notaries in billing the signers, or is that separate from what you offer?
That's separate. I would suggest a stripe. Most our notaries bill in advance. Now we do have an integration with a billing service that you can use. Most notaries have their own, but no, we don't bill your signer. That's your client. You're our client. We bill you, then you bill your client.
And can you repeat, for anyone who joined late, what the fee is to use secured signing?
Sure. Yeah, let's go over that very, very specifically. Now, if I can remember how to share my screen again. Let's go in here. Let me get to the right spot, then I'll share it.
While you're doing that, I just want to verify this audit trail that remains within that transaction, correct? So the notaries can always go back and view that at
No,
any time if
yeah,
they
you
needed
can,
to.
right, at any time. And that signing certificate, and do you see it on my screen?
Yes, the top half we do.
Okay, that is tamper sealed itself. So you could send this to somebody and it will certify saying this document, this certificate has not changed since it was executed. So that's also a pretty doggone cool feature.
Now, I know you said that you would retain both the journal and the recording for 10 years. Even if the notary left the platform, would they have access to get that information? So the SOS or their governing entity need information from that?
Absolutely.
Could they, if they chose, download the journal to take with them?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that screen, share my new screen. Okay, on our website, www.securedsigning.com, you go into pricing, notary plans, and here's your line item charge. The first 10 documents, remember that document could be 200 pages. The first 10 documents in your billing period is no charge. Each stamp is $1. A 30-minute recording is $5. An ID verification with biometric match is $3. KBA is $1. It's included with your journal. We include the PKI certificate if you're in a state that allows for that. And again, we publish you in the notary community. And we also have a signing notarization price estimator. So this assumes that it's your 11th plus document. So we've got one document that needs to be uploaded. Let's change that to 5 documents. And how many stamps? Well, let's say it's 5 stamps. Signers in the meeting, let's say there's 2. There's 1 guest. Let's say all 5 signers need to go through KBA and IDV. And let's say, okay, how many? Let's increase how many docs. Let's increase this to 10 documents. Okay, 10 documents, 5 stamps. I mean, it's really, if there's 10 documents, there's going to be more than that. Let's say 8 of those need stamps on them, or 9 of those. Again, we cap our fees at $50. This is just an Excel calculator, so this would go up to whatever. But we cap our fees at $50 is the most to be charged for any one session. But again, this is on our website right now for you to examine. So again, if you go to www.securedsigning.com, pricing, it's on the pricing page, and here's the line item pricing as well as the estimator. Other questions?
Bill, in terms of that, how does the notary get billed? Do they have to buy tokens or place money in an account in advance? Do you bill them on a monthly basis, following
Yeah, let me explain that. That's important and oftentimes misunderstood. Let's say the notary signs up, because I'd rather quote you high than low. Let's say the notary signs up for $14.95 a month, meaning we're going to store their journal and the recording for 10 years. They have a signing, and it's 2 stamps, 2 IDs, and let's say that event's going to cost them $12, $12.50. We don't bill, but much like reserving a hotel room, we reserve that $12.50 off the credit card. Now, at the end of the month, we will actually bill them for that. So it's really a pay-to-play platform. Now, we will reserve the monthly fee, $14.95 or $9.95, off the credit card. and any activity that you anticipate doing, we will reserve off the credit card. And then at the end of the month, we bill. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
The other really cool feature is for in-person electronic notarizations, where you have a set of docs and which you can do now in most all states. You take your computer out to the signer. You've got, let's say you've got 8 stamps, and let's say this is one of the first 10 you did that month. That entire 200-page signing with 2 borrowers is going to cost you $8. Let me repeat that. That entire signing with 2 borrowers, 200 pages, is going to cost you $8. You couldn't print documents for that. So anyway, the platform is extremely robust and has a ton of features. And as Roger said, we have the Notary University up here. And Roger, do you still see my screen?
Yep, you're on the pricing screen.
Okay, I'm going to go to the Notary University. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, these are all or some of the actual videos we have to go how to prepare the signer side video experience. I mean, a tremendous amount of e-learning environments. We have that training, and I suggest you take advantage of it. Actually, you can look at those right now. You don't have to be a subscriber to access this stuff. So again, we're very transparent in that regard. So that's a pretty basic overview of what we do. It does require practice. Any platform, any business requires investment of both capital and time. And if you don't make both, you're not going to be successful. Questions?
So in terms of the exemplar that we've had a lot of conversation about, I assume that if a notary decided to use your platform, that you would provide them the exemplar to provide to the state. Is that correct?
The exemplar, you mean the compliance certificate?
So yeah, so New York State requires what they call an exemplar, that, the certificate that shows their digital stamp and the digital signature and the certificate attached.
Right. Essentially what you do is you just execute a document on the platform and send it to them.
So they, just to be clear on that, they specifically ask that we don't use a document that's notarized with an individual, that it has to be a sample document. Is that something that you guys would provide? Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah, so Marcy, we have a sample document online. So once you input your notary seal and your signature, you can go into the system and tag that sample document and use that sample document to send to the state.
Wonderful. So everyone who's on the line, if you're in New York, we want to make sure that you're not sending an actual notarized document, though they will reject that. So keep that in mind.
Do you see my screen now? Do you see the landing page, Roger? Do we?
Yes.
Okay, let me show you real quick. iSign. I'm going to upload a sample document. Notary sample document. Upload that. I'm going to add this may not be the document that you do, but it gives you the idea. Add my signature, add my stamp, sign, download, and you submit it to the state. Simple as that.
Wonderful. So I'm going to ask this because we get this question all the time from independent notaries, but obviously for general notary work, they're going to go ahead and do their marketing and bring their clients, but is there a system in place there where maybe you have a title company who needs a notary in a specific state or area, and they might be possibly able to, be chosen or picked for that? Or do you guys take, calls directly from consumers to come in and you can provide those leads to the notaries directly?
Honestly, no. I don't want to. We do have some activity that goes through our notary community, but I would not plan on that as a reliable income stream. I do not want to mislead anybody. We provide them the tool to go out, market, build, and protect their own business.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? You can certainly drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. You can raise your hand and we can unmute you in case we didn't touch on something.
Actually, this is Roger. I'm just gonna answer a question that I saw when
Sure.
Bill was going over the pricing. I think this is also critical to understand. Somebody said, what do you charge to join secured signing? That's a fantastic question because a lot of the platforms require you pay this large upfront fee. Secured signing does not, right? It's $9.95 a month plus $5 for video storage. That's it. There's no upfront fee. You don't lose any money. It's literally join and put your credentials in and start using the platform. No joining fee at all.
Thank you for that. I don't think that we have any other questions. We're going to go ahead and obviously record this. We'll put this on the NINA site and both our YouTube channels. So if anyone wants to review them afterward, they'll be there for you. Roger and Bill, I certainly appreciate your time. I know how valuable your time is, and we appreciate you sharing this information with us. And of course, I appreciate everyone who jumped on to take a look here. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording.